Welcome to Empirical Peapod. I'm your host, Tim Day. Thank you so much for continuing this journey with me, where I get to sit and talk to all my favorite people. You guys remember the drill. Don't forget to like, follow, share, subscribe. Let's get into today's episode. Oh, man. All right. I went outside today, and it was the grossest thing I've ever done. I hated it so much, but I needed food so bad. And then I ate it, and I was like, this was a mistake. If that's not a metaphor for my life, I don't know. Anyway, here we are. Today I'm sitting down with Jordan Cook. Now, this is going to be interesting because I feel like an uncomfortable amount of people know who you are, but they don't know why they know you.
Yeah. That seems the story of my life.
Yeah. This will be interesting to kind of pull back that curtain and be like, oh, that's where that asshole came from.
Pretty much.
So you live in Iowa. Have you lived in Iowa your whole life?
All 32 years.
I also forgot that you're a baby.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. What part of Iowa do you live in?
Basically like middle of nowhere, nothing but like small towns.
You just described all of Iowa, but like...
Well, there's some big towns.
Jordan, is that true? Do you think there's big towns in Iowa?
I mean, some. To me, they're a little bigger than what I'm used to. Like Cedar Rapids, I mean, it's pretty big.
I like the idea that you're like, whoa, we're not huge like Cedar Rapids.
Well, I mean, yes. I guess Des Moines a little big too, but I only go to Des Moines for shows anymore.
Say, at least that's a capital. Like, it's got some weight to it.
Yeah, that's also true.
Yeah. What, man, so you're only 32 now. I guess we'll do this one inside out. We'll start with, how did you come to know any of us? Because you were really young back then, right?
Yeah, I think I was...
You were like a teenager.
16, 17 maybe? Yeah.
Yeah. So we were all in our mid-20s.
Yeah, that the good old day of Absolutely Perfect. I discovered you guys, I think, through MySpace.
Ugh, what an old sentence.
Oh, I know. And then, yeah, from there on out, once I figured out, I think it was like you, Jay, Randy, and Guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then on one Halloween party night, I got made fun of because I didn't have Facebook, and you guys were like the first four I looked at. So there was that.
Nice. So we were just randomly some assholes that responded to something.
Absolutely.
That's hilarious. So, but that was basically it. Like, you liked the band and basically hit us up, and for some creepy, weird reason, we engaged you in conversation.
Yeah. Oh, and then in 2010, I went to Chicago because I met you all at the Dragon Gate USA event.
That's right. I was going to say, that's what bled over then from meeting us as the band. Then me, you, and Jay share a huge passion for wrestling.
Absolutely.
And
you guys
we started talking about wrestling in general, and then you came out to the Dragon Gate. Man, remember that show?
Oh, dude, I still remember it like it was yesterday. I still keep in touch with Eric Cannon after all these years too. So
really, that's wild.
Yeah, and then
is he still out there on the indie scene?
Oh, and he runs that First Wrestling out of Minneapolis. He runs that too.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really cool. So that's pretty much been it then, is we just kind of stayed in touch via Facebook. But then at some point you started adding all of our friends as well.
Yes.
Do you just feel like I'm just part of the group now, even though I don't live there?
Like half-ass. But I was also young and partially stupid, so I was just like, oh, well, maybe they'll accept it. I don't know. But
I feel like everybody has probably been nice to you, right? Like, nobody's been an asshole about it.
I mean, true. I mean, even the ones that I maybe talked to for a little bit, at least they still engaged. And I'm like, oh, this is awesome.
Yeah. At some point too, didn't you take your or you don't currently wrestle, right?
No, I did. I'm actually trying out for like commentator spots now
Oh,
to kind of
really?
work with my communications degree. Well, and the love and knowledge for
Yeah,
professional wrestling.
man, that's awesome. Because when I worked at the school, I got to run scorebooks for the basketball and wrestling meets. And while I was there, I would just commentate to myself and whoever was sitting next to me. And I had the
Yeah.
best time. And I'm like, God damn it. I would love to just be a commentator and just like have fun with it and be ridiculous, but also like informative. It'd be so cool.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think it'd be a pretty cool gig, honestly. But yeah.
I think so too. So let's rewind. You have a degree in communications. So you don't have anything to compare it to because you still think Cedar Rapids is the big town. But what was it like in school? How was your experience? In school through high school. Like, what did that look like for you?
Um, I was the kid that had the small group of friends, but if I went somewhere else, I had a giant group of friends.
Now, what does that mean?
I'm very outgoing. I'm like a social butterfly that everybody needs in their life, apparently.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, like, like a typical like party night back in the day. It would find someone who looked like they were alone and have a 3 hour conversation, literally about random things, and then become friends just like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like that's good too for you know just making friends and being outgoing and stuff. Like I've got a very hard exterior that if you
Ah,
can break through it, like I'll talk to you. Like I'll talk to anybody, but you have to break through this stupid ego,
good
which
choice
is
of words.
it's getting weaker as I get old. Like on purpose, where I'm like this whoever this guy is, I don't need him anymore. But
That's fair.
I gotta think it's pretty run of the mill. Like, yeah, I'm gonna fill in your life for you. Nothing significant happened through grade school.
That was yeah, basically. Like my only accomplishments were friends, parties, and I almost made like all conference baseball playing shortstop. That was about it.
That's pretty awesome, actually. I think like that's a pretty huge deal. Did you play any other sports or just baseball?
I mean, I played basketball and football. The first 2 years I actually played for the first time. We were undefeated both years. I think we went 9-0.
Nice. What position you play in football?
I was defensive end.
That's I'm interested because I'm like you don't have to be a dick, but you're kind of a small guy.
Oh, very much so. Yes.
But like in football, that doesn't necessarily matter. Like you could still be a machine out there.
Yeah. Well, they put me at defensive end because I was like the quote unquote jackrabbit that the quarterback couldn't see.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome, actually. So then, what made you pursue communications when you got to college? Like, is that something you always had an interest in, or are you just like, I guess I'll just go this route?
Well, no. I mean, when I after high school, I just kind of went straight to work because I didn't know what the hell I wanted to do at that point.
Yeah. Did you get a good
And
job right out of high school?
I had a job during high school,
Yeah.
so
Well, like, I had
I
jobs during high school, but they were like shitty retail jobs and stuff like that.
I think in high school I kind of worked with kids that have verbal and nonverbal disabilities, physical
Oh, nice.
disabilities. I mean,
Yeah.
I found it really fucking cool. I found it
Yeah. Yeah.
rewarding. And then, yeah, I graduated high school, and then it was like nothing but factory work after that. So I've been doing that for the last 10 years.
Weren't
But
you a locksmith for a while?
what?
Were you a locksmith? Or am I making that up?
A welder?
Is that a locksmith?
I mean, yeah, in a welder sense, I guess. But yeah, I've been welding
Wait,
since.
wait, wait. Because
Wait.
didn't you work for Assa Abloy?
Yeah, I did, actually.
And what did you do there?
I made metal doors and frames.
Okay, so I get it. That's where the welding part comes in. You do the
Yeah.
framing, because they're actually a bigger company than just what I think. Because my sister's husband works for is a locksmith, and he is partnered with them as a locksmith. So that makes sense that you were doing the actual door parts.
Yeah. My time there, we actually did like the new doors and frames for the new Raider Stadium in Vegas and the new Vikings one in Minneapolis.
That's awesome.
And I want to say the new Apple headquarters that was made a few years ago in California.
That's pretty crazy. Like that's got to be a really well paying job, also, especially to travel around like that. Was that a union job?
No, that was the last thing on their mind was to get a union inside.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Yeah, that's why I was there 6 days a week for like 80 hours every week.
Ugh, yeah, that's
Yeah.
tough. So I know we just jumped a little bit, but so to college then it was just like what drew you to communications? It's just literally nothing.
I mean, you can do some stuff, but I just realized I'm really good at writing and talking. So I was like, oh, this sounds pretty helpful.
Yeah, that makes sense. Did you have any like goal in mind, or were you just like this will be good to have in my back pocket?
Uh, Half and half. It was a
Yeah,
really good back pocket idea. And then in my head, I was like, you know how cool it would be to actually be like a market designer for a band in the future? You know, or you know how cool it'd be to run a podcast and actually learn how to produce everything by yourself.
yeah.
So, I
I
mean, I was
mean,
just like,
you can just jump in and half-ass it. I promise.
well, I mean, fair enough. But I was just like, why not? Sounds like a really good idea. And everything else that I wanted to at least try, it was like, you know, 2 to 6 years of schooling. And I'm like, that just seems too much. 4 years is too much, but here I
Yeah.
am.
I mean, at least you did it. Like that's pretty awesome. I mean, because you still got to live life through all that too. Like, what was your upbringing like?
Upbringing, very eventful. I was I was never the kid inside on a screen. I was always outside.
Yeah,
I had a wonderful imagination. So like anytime you would see me wrestle an invisible opponent, I was enjoying myself.
were you
Or I
more of a
was
like you said you're outgoing, but were you more of a loner? Like, were you on your own when you were outside, or did you have a decent group of friends in the neighborhood?
I'd say decent group because we'd always have like sandlot type baseball games every weekend.
That's awesome.
Yeah, like if I wasn't home, you'd find me at the baseball diamond or the bowling alley. Only three
Yeah.
spots I'd be at.
Were you always outgoing, or did you kind of grow into that as you grew up?
I was shy as a kid, but I immediately grew into it.
Was there? Do you remember like a particular shift that kind of happened in your life, or was there like an event where you think you were kind of like, this is the turning point?
Probably as soon as I hit junior high, which was seventh and eighth grade, which is like right above your middle school years.
Yeah,
So the 2 years right before high school, I was just like, you know what? Time to talk to people. So I started talking to people.
yeah. I think that's probably pretty normal. Like I feel like that's when I finally came out of my shell too, where I was like, okay, I gotta make friends, I guess.
Well, I mean, it was half-assed the thought of, yeah, I should make friends, but it was like, hey, did you catch the fucking Braves game last night? Yeah, I did. It was great. All right, cool. Let's hit it off from there.
Yeah. Well, I was starting to like. Plus, I've always had a. I've always wanted to date girls like since I was in like third grade. So finally in junior high, I was like, I gotta figure out how to talk to these ladies because they're adorable, and I would like to kiss one day if I'm allowed. All right. So there. You grew up though with there. I'm alluding because I don't know for 100%. So correct me, please. But there, at some point, there you dealt with some trauma, right? When you were younger.
Um, a little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends.
Sure, yeah. I mean, it depends on how you value it in your life. Uh, but what was that?
Uh, I think the hardest thing about childhood was I lost my father when I was 16, but
Yeah,
he was only 38 though.
right, which is crazy,
Yeah.
like because that's so young. But like, were your parents together or were they already separated?
Uh, I mean, they were half-assed together, but the divorce was never finalized because he died.
Okay, so they were getting at
Yeah,
least
I mean, it
separated.
was there.
Right, right.
Yeah.
But like, you guys were close though, right?
Oh, absolutely. I I think at one point he actually took me to a wrestling show where I started training. I think a year before he died, and he was like, "Hey, we might be tag champs one day." I'm like, "Oh, don't tell me that. I'll get my hopes up."
That would be crazy. But what happened to him, if you don't mind me
Uh,
asking?
Brain aneurysm. I
Like
mean,
just randomly, eh?
yeah, just like that. He was trying to drive home one night after work and just pull over and went.
It's insane, like when stuff like that happens, because like it's one of those things where like it's almost in a strange way nice that they didn't suffer, but at the same time you're like, dude, like what are we doing? There's so many things that we take seriously or it like we think matters to our lives, and then shit like that happens, and you're like, it's all stupid. Like, why are we taking any of it seriously? That's the same
Right.
thing like when Laura passed away, my last girlfriend, and it was like just a random blood clot in her leg, just boom, and then just gone like within minutes. It's like it's one of those things too. Like it's tough to fathom until you've seen it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You said that you were 16 when that happened.
Yeah, I think I just turned 16 that year, and my sister was just about to turn 12.
Yeah. Wow. So were you close with your mom?
It was a hit and miss for a while.
Yeah, parents can be the worst, right? But
Oh, yeah, my mom's had her moments, I promise.
but well, like when they were, because they said they were in the process. Were you presumably off to live with your dad then?
No, I was just with him every other day. I didn't do the whole weekend bullshit.
Yeah. So they were going to stay close, or they were close enough at least.
Yeah, I mean, they were still pretty decent enough with communication and being that close that I could just go back and forth like every other day or so.
Yeah, that's good because that can be tough. I mean, not to foreshadow, as you know, it can be a pain in the ass trying to co-parent.
Oh, yeah.
Especially
It
based on like it depends on how you ended the relationship, also, and things like that.
Yeah, co-parenting has its moments, but yeah.
Yeah. So because after college, you've got your degree. After college, you're moving on and everything like that. Eventually, you get married. Is that
Yeah,
did you get married?
I did.
I meant to ask a question, not tell you your life.
Either or, both work fine for me. It's okay.
Yeah. Let me tell you about yourself, son.
Yeah, no shit. Uh yeah. 2017, and my divorce was finalized actually back in February of this year.
Yeah, but you guys have been separated for a while too. Like, I know a divorce can be an absolute slog, right?
Oh yeah. Well, for me actually, the separation was probably the worst because I was still drinking heavily.
Yeah,
But but I guess to be fair though, I mean, I understand if people outgrow each other, but it was just,
sure.
I mean, in my head, I'm thinking it's pure stupidity because she couldn't move on from the drinking, so it kind of just foreshadowed the end all.
What do you when you say that like she couldn't move on from your drinking, or she was still kind of partying?
Um, I mean, aside, not to be like, too
Oh, yeah,
much or whatever, but
for sure.
aside like a few drunken nights, you text people you shouldn't text.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's good enough clarification for us.
yeah, basically. She
Yeah,
she kind of couldn't let go of that, so she was like still stuck and couldn't move. And then my drinking obviously didn't help, so it kind of just,
right. Yeah,
well, here you go. But
which
we were
was
also
rough.
together for like,
Yeah, so you
oh
guys were
yeah,
together for a
especially,
while, and you guys had 3 kids in a pretty short amount of time.
Yeah. Both my boys are 11 and 8, and my daughter is 4.
Yeah, I guess it's not too much time. I didn't realize there was that big of a gap from the last one. But that still makes sense. Like I said, the best you can hope for is to, because everybody evolves constantly, right? And the best you
Oh,
can hope for is to
yeah.
evolve together, but you don't control that part. So
Correct.
it's tough. Like you said, you were in a bad place at the time, anyway. So I know it was an absolute nightmare to try to get through.
Oh, yeah.
Which is
Fuck.
like I'm
Everything.
right, but I'm so stoked that you're still here in general because I know what it's like to stare into that abyss, not of drinking and stuff, but like be like, you know what? I don't have to do this if I don't want to.
Right.
But as of now, did you already pass a year or are you approaching a year of
No,
sobriety?
I am approaching July 21st will be a first full year.
That's exciting. So actually, this is going to go live somewhere around there. So when people hear this, July 21st, somewhere around there, everybody congratulate Jordan on a year sober. That's amazing, man.
Oh, dude, it was hard. Not gonna lie.
Uh, for sure. But it's one of those, like, to an extent, like, I hate this idea uh, of where we have to earn things, but it's almost like you got to want it, right?
Oh,
And
yeah,
to an
absolutely.
extent, you're proving to yourself that I'm worth this. If this is the road I have to go and the mountain I have to climb, bring it.
Yeah,
So during all this time, like you've done a lot of things mixed in with a lot of things happening. So
yeah.
somewhere while you're married, you're having children, you're exploring the wonders of being an alcoholic. Uh, you tried to be, didn't you start training as a wrestler? Like you even alluded to with your dad too. Like, didn't you try to hit it pretty hard at some point?
Oh, yeah. That was even way before the whole marriage and alcoholism. Even I actually
Did you have a
did
character and a gimmick, like for yourself?
really. I mean, really, no character or gimmick. I mean, I kind of just took
That's
Cook, my last name, and
that's the
made my
problem
last name.
with you indie kids these days. No
Man,
gimmick, no character.
like to me, the best thing I did was I took Cook for my name and replaced it with Jacobs because Jimmy Jacobs is a huge inspiration to me.
Yeah,
And I had a spiky faux hawk like Alex Shelley, so another huge inspiration. That was basically my go-to guys for the moment.
yeah. When you, I'm gonna be critical, but not to be an asshole. But when you look at indie, because like we said, we love the business, and we look at and we see a lot of stuff because we pay attention to the indie promotions all the way up to the big ones. When you see people that would have just told you that same story, where they're like, "Oh, I took this name because I like this guy and I had the same kind of hair," aren't you? Don't you kind of want to be like, so you didn't create anything for yourself?
Um, no, I did not. I literally think the only thing I really did for myself was actually just making the trips and shows. I mean, that was just rewarding in itself.
Yeah, I wish I know you're considerably younger, but I wish you would have came up when because my brother worked for PCW out in Illinois, which is back here, and he was the head trainer and an investor, and it would have been cool to come up through that and just kind of see the thing because I don't know. Again, you would have been way too little, but when we started going to indie shows out here, like LWF, that was our first indie show out here, and that's where CM Punk and Colt Cabana started. So like we used to go and help them set up the ring. Billy Wack was the announcer. He's amazing. He was so funny and so charismatic, and like we would see CM Punk just sitting in the back, away from everybody, because he
Uh-huh.
wasn't like a partier or anything like that. And like it's wild to see how far he's gone and stuff like that. Like, I wish you could have experienced that with us when we were doing all that. Because like we were doing, if we weren't doing a show for the band, we were out at a wrestling show like every weekend. It was amazing.
Oh,
And now we don't do anything.
no, no, we don't do it.
Did it take a toll on your body, like just the training? Is that why you were like, I don't? Was there a point where you're like, I don't want to do this anymore physically? I'd rather switch to commentary.
Not even the whole like switching roles. It was I didn't really want to be gone every weekend.
Oh, that's right. The commentators don't travel with the people.
Well, not only that, but I like the last show I did, we found out that we were pregnant with the oldest. I'm like, oh fuck, I don't know if I can really, keep going. And at that time, I was working
Yeah.
2 different jobs. That was just to try and keep upright.
Yeah, man. I don't know how. I can't imagine working 2 jobs, having 2 to 3 kids, a wife, and you're trying to be a pro wrestler, which is eats up training during the week and your weekends 100% every weekend
Yeah,
for
and I
maybe
was,
$10, right?
yeah, I think the most I ever got was 30, and that was for a 20-second battle royal spot.
Hey, that's easy money though, right?
Hey, I thought so. It was a good time
30
for me.
bucks for 20 seconds, yeah. That's pretty amazing. Like, what? I don't know how. Do you feel content now, like having kind of looking back and being like, I was doing so much, and like realistically, when you're that spread thin, you're not. There's no way to give 100% to all of it, right? This is no.
Oh,
This is
absolutely.
impossible. So, like, do you feel better now? Like, you feeling you're in a better place?
I'm probably more than content at the moment. I feel like I'm
Ooh,
still throwing my
ex-
hands everywhere.
explain more than content.
Uh, I've never really been content. I've always been a go getter.
Like, on to the next thing. Like, there's no time to
Yeah,
celebrate. Whatever, I gotta go to the next thing.
yeah. Like right now, my schedule is literally like health and fitness, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I'll have my kids every other weekend, and that's around wrestling shows if nearby.
Yeah.
And then I do college online between Saturday and Monday of every week. So I'm still bouncing,
So you're
but
still
I'm,
spreading yourself just as thin.
oh yeah, absolutely. And like I said, like content would be a great word, but I'm still like sleepless
Yeah.
nights because, if I fucking fall asleep, what if I miss this? Or what if I miss, my paper due on Tuesday?
Yeah.
Or
Do you feel a lot of FOMO, like because you have so many interests, you're like, I have to be a part of all of this just in case I don't want to miss anything.
90%, yes. Even if something new comes up, I'm like, I'll give it a shot. Why not?
How do you? So we talked to like obviously you have the divorce and you guys co-parent and everything's at least cordial, which is fair enough. Uh, but I know that how do you maintain a relationship now with all of that stuff going on? Because I know that there's a you have a girlfriend.
Correct.
How do you maintain that relationship?
To the to probably a more than better ability than when I had
Did you
in
say
my
more
marriage.
than better? Man. That's that Iowa public schools, bud.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, again, like marriage wise, I held a pretty constant ability to make things work, and we would push for things to make her, work or whatever. But now it's just, well, if I'm gonna bust my ass, you should bust your ass too. And she's kept up with me as much as I've kept up with her, so it's kind of equal
Oh,
now.
almost like a real partnership. Weird, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, but it's easy to say that in retrospect, but you don't know that until you've seen the flip side, right? So you kind of have to go through the
Right.
bullshit to come out and be like, "Oh, I get it. This is actually pretty nice. This is awesome."
Yes, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, that makes sense. You got to wade through the mud for sure. Do you miss wrestling? Like, I know
A
you still
lot.
go to the shows, but like, do you miss performing?
Oh, more than ever. I
You 100% think you're like, dude, you know how wrestlers are, but like, do you think you're 100% done with it for forever, or do you think you can? I mean, realistically, you said you're 32. You could easily have a good 15 more years
oh yeah,
under the
I
right circumstances.
I would just pull a fucking DDP and start out at 36.
Not for nothing, like one good
Exact.
year in wrestling will cement you into like the annals of time.
Absolutely. That's all I need.
Yeah,
But yeah,
it's
no,
got to
I
be tough
wouldn't
though from
say.
Iowa, right? Like there's people. The only thing that comes from Iowa is Seth Rollins.
And Ashton Kutcher.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's true. And I'm sure Becky Lynch lives there now. Also, I know they have their coffee shop. My sister and her husband just went to Colorado, and on the way home, they stopped at their coffee shop that Seth and Becky own, which is right next to their wrestling or his wrestling school.
Yeah, that's the only place in Davenport I have yet to see.
Really?
Oh yeah, his wrestling school is literally the only site I have not seen the inside of yet.
That's interesting. So where did you go when you wanted to train?
A small town about an hour, I think, east of me in Algona. They were called Impact Pro Wrestling.
Where they're not affiliated with TNA?
No, they are not. But my trainer was actually either a single star or a tag team star back in the AWA days. That's where he trained.
Really?
Yeah. So he's very old school, and I was like, I'm gonna fit right the fuck in with this.
Do you consider yourself old school?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I feel like because it's like not for nothing, people would look at you and be like, "This guy's a Jeff Hardy wannabe," right? And then you come in and you've actually got an education. You're steeped in wrestling lore and like actually want to work like an old school worker.
Right, absolutely. And back to the whole Jeff Hardy thing. Yes, I have colored my hair multiple colors multiple times, but
yeah, of course you have.
Yes, but
not for nothing. Like whatever it takes to get somebody interested. Like I'm taking the piss, but I don't mean it as dicky as I'm saying it, because like whatever you are attracted to, like I just want people to love wrestling.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there was one show I did. Well, I mean, I did like I think 4 total for Excite Wrestling out of Binghamton, New York.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where I literally met everybody. I met like Brody Lee, Johnny Gargano. Yeah. I mean,
I say that East Coast is still like even to this day.
Oh
like,
yeah,
for the last we're going on 40 years. That's just been the spot. The East Coast
absolutely,
has always been the spot.
But every time I would do a show, I would either manage or I'd wrestle, and I'd always have a Misfits shirt. You know how amazing it is to have like 400 people tell you the Misfits fucking suck? And I'm just like,
whatever it takes to get that heat.
Right. And I'm like, dude, you're like fucking 12. You probably don't even know who the lead singer is. Yeah. They've had like 5.
yeah, that's true. Well, you'll see a bunch of kids wearing that shirt, but have no idea what the Misfits are.
Yeah, like I still see people today wear a Nirvana shirt. I'm like, really? Do you know who they are?
Yeah, I worked in a junior high for a couple years, and I'm like, some kids just take their parents' clothes. Like, fair enough, whatever. But like, you're putting off an image that is just so fabricated. It's funny, but some people do legitimately like it. I just get mad when I hear stuff that I grew up with called classic rock, and I'm like, oh, that's right. I'm in my 40s, like an asshole.
Yeah, right.
But it's still like it's kind of the same thing though. Like whatever it takes to get somebody to find something. Like hopefully you hope they'll check it out and maybe they'll fall in love, like we all did when we found it.
Yeah, it's always been one of my goals, and I've it's even to this day people are like, do you watch wrestling? And I'm like, define wrestling. Do you watch what's on TV or do you actually watch multiple? I mean, because I was that kid once. I was like, yeah, I'm a big fan of fucking Edge and Christian. Is that all you know? Well, I know these guys, but then I learned about Kota Ibushi and Naito and Kenta, and I'm like, oh my god, there's a whole world.
Yeah. So what was your foray into that? Because I know like Jay and I came up during the big tape trade, like probably the tail end of the tape trade boom. Was that still happening when you were coming up? Because I feel like you kind of have the internet age where you can go to the internet to get everything.
For me, it happened half.
That makes sense. You were probably the absolute tail end of the tape trading. Because I remember Jay and I. There's a Japanese market up probably within an hour of where we grew up here, and they would have Japanese wrestling. They were burned DVDs, but that's where I got like all my New Japan stuff. And like Jay would have the tapes of like the Super J Cup, which is like
Oh,
the
dude.
in the mid '90s. The J Cups were the best thing in the world. Like
Oh,
you saw
absolutely.
the best wrestling ever, the best wrestlers ever. Like and it was so cool because you felt like you were part of this club that nobody knew about. Like, of course, we still love the big WWE and whatever, but being able to get this stuff from Japan and see all these younger guys that are now like they're basically running the show now was
Yeah,
amazing. Like,
yeah.
it's so cool to see that. Uh, but that makes sense that you would have a nice mixture of the internet and stuff. Did I tell you one time Jay and I saw uh, I think it was an IWA Mid South show somewhere in Illinois, and AJ Styles wrestled Tiger Mask 4.
I probably would have cried and pissed myself of happiness.
Dude, like, I mean, AJ Styles is upper echelon, right? Like, he's ridiculous. But Tiger Mask 4 is like my favorite Japanese wrestler. And it was incredible to watch that. But there was a Japanese film crew filming, and they interviewed Jay and I on camera during that or after that match. And I bought a Tiger Mask shirt that day, which I still have and stuff like that. But we've never been able to find that footage or if they ever released something about Tiger Mask. And it's so sad because I'm like, I would love to see that.
Right, right.
Like one of the lost footages of the world. So to transition to commentary, have you been booked for commentary before? Like how does that? I know you had. Did you have a tryout recently?
No, I will have a tryout for CZW in probably the next month.
Okay, so you said you got a call back about a potential tryout.
Yeah, potential tryout and permanent spot if I'd be fully committed because I think he wanted to actually move him into like another role that he really wants. So that's why they had openings for a commentator spot for a combat zone.
Would you have to head out east then, like permanently?
Philly. I'd have to go to Philly.
Relocate out there. Man, that would totally be worth it. That's what I was going to say too. Like being in Iowa, centralized in Iowa, and taking indie bookings in New York. I don't think people really understand what it's like because, like, as an indie wrestler, you drive your life away.
Yeah,
and like you said, the most you ever made is $30. So now you're driving from Iowa to New York to work, maybe one or two matches, maybe like wrestling or managing,
right.
and then driving home and maybe getting $20.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's insane. Like that's not even enough gas to get halfway there.
No, and
while still having 3 kids and paying rent and all your other bills.
Yeah. See, this is why I was trying to bust my ass and working 2 jobs.
Yeah. But like then it's rough though because you gotta work out a certain level to keep your body at a certain level, train in the ring at a certain level, and then if you start being like you have to rest and pay attention to how you're eating, so treat your body well. So when you start working too much too, you kind of that's a lot of plates to spin, and eventually something falls down to the ground, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So it's just like, man, that would be a dream spot though. I can't wait to see that. I hope that pans out. Actually, that'll be amazing.
Yeah.
So did you just have to head out there then and just do a tryout, or is it online, or what? Are you not sure yet?
I would have to go out there. He basically he said once he finds the actual date for like an open like seminar type deal, I could just go out there. It would be like half coaching and half do it yourself and go from there.
That's really cool, man. I wish I was doing that 20 years ago.
20 years. Well, I just factored in. I mean, I couldn't wrestle for like 6 to 8 years because kids and then divorce and shit. So I was just like, well, can't really fucking stop living now. But I also had to get clean.
That'll be and you have a really short career if you wrestle somewhere like CZW.
Well, I don't know. Mox is still going.
That's true, but he's a whole different breed of person.
Well, this is also true. That's that Midwestern in you.
Yeah, because I'll tell you what, like, man, the stuff I've seen him do, I'm like, nope. Like I would do that once and be like, I'm gonna go home. That was your one, guys. He's ridiculous. Of course, I mean, like like I said, we grew up on the deathmatch stuff too from Japan, watching Terry Funk and Mick Foley
Oh
blow
fuck.
themselves up.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was so cool, man. FMW is another one because we were there when that was still happening. Hayabusa is another favorite of mine.
Oh sure.
Those were good times. Then there was a dark period of wrestling. Have you ever had a period where you stopped watching?
Actually, yes.
When was it?
It was probably right around, I think, fuck, 14 and 15. I mean, like WWE still had Bryan, and I think Punk
Yeah,
just left,
yeah,
and it was like the Authority era. I was just like, it's the same shit, and
yeah.
I'm done. I'm tired of it.
It's interesting because I had stopped watching just before Punk showed up. I never got to see him in WWE. Uh,
Oh
I left once like once they switched to PG era and John Cena was on all the time.
yeah.
That's when I left, and I've only been back for like the last 5 years. But it's like the man, it's so good. Like as a wrestling fan, it's so amazing right now in general. Like everything that's going on. Like when I left, that was just when I left WWE. I still paid attention to everything. I'm a huge Ring of Honor fan through all of
Oh,
that.
absolutely.
That's what was amazing to me is like I used to watch Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson, and I would watch Tyler Black, and I would watch Samoa Joe. And when I came back, they were all in WWE, and I'm like, what? All
Yeah.
my favorite Ring of Honor guys are all huge in WWE now. This is amazing because I had no idea. Man, I got to see Tyler Black out here in Chicago Heights at a Ring of Honor pay per view. With he had Necro Butcher with him.
Oh, Age of the
It
Fall
brought,
days.
yeah, and they hung this dude from the rafters, and he was bleeding. And Tyler Black cut a promo while the blood was just raining on him, and it was the coolest shit I ever saw in my life. Like it was so gross and so messed up, but it was so badass to watch.
Oh yeah, that was Age of the Fall because Jimmy was the leader,
Yeah, that's
and
true.
and they hung.
I can't remember who they
I think it was
hung.
fucking. I think it was Mark Briscoe. It was a Briscoe brother.
You know what? That tracks. That makes the most sense.
Yeah,
That
it's still one of
man,
my favorite debuts, so I'll never forget it.
yeah, it was wild. It was really cool to watch happen live, like because it's this little thing, but it meant as going to an indie show is like what you're getting into. You know what it's not, but what it is, you absolutely are so bought into because you understand what it's like, and you can sit there and have this amazing time, and you can get in everybody's face, and like there's this incredible level of passion from the performers and from the audience, and then afterwards, everybody talks like they're best friends because
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
understand the show part of it, and that's what you want to suspend belief during the show, and then we understand you're humans after that.
Right, right.
And I've always really admired that. Like that's one of my favorite parts about the indie scene. You don't
Yeah,
really get everything's kayfabe forever, usually at the bigger things.
yeah. Truth.
Do you really want to move to Philadelphia?
I don't think I'd move. I would. I would. I'm. I've actually learned to love to travel. So I
Yeah,
would really, I really wouldn't mind taking a fucking flight out east like once or twice a month. It wouldn't bother me. But they're also traveling this year for like the first time. I mean, they
really.
have yeah, they're doing shows. I think in Houston in October. They're doing a
Oh,
big one in
that's awesome.
Maryland. Yeah, they're doing. I think a two big weekend. I think in Baltimore
Yeah,
next weekend.
I'm
I
not
think.
surprised to see him like a little bit on the East Coast, but to go to Texas is pretty huge.
Oh yeah,
Like
yeah. I
that's
think
a significant trek.
yeah, I think it's Houston. I think that one's in October for them.
I'd be curious to see them come through Chicago. I think we just had some sort of death, like some sort of like combat style, like ridiculous deathmatch stuff here a couple of weeks ago or months ago, but I don't remember because I don't follow that sort of stuff. It was a very indie show.
Oh, fair.
Yeah, but what do you do? What are your hobbies aside from wrestling? Like, what do you get into?
Probably bowling would be number one. I've I've been bowling for like 18 years.
Are you good at bowling?
I could tell you
Like,
yes.
can somebody be good at bowling? Or I feel like it's you just throw the ball. It's crazy to me when people can actually like aim a bowling ball.
Um, yes. It took me like 16 years to kind of practice and get really good at it, but yeah, I'm good.
Do you play at a league?
Yeah, weekly basis, and
Jesus
every
Christ! So
April, like
there's another thing you do weekly. Like
yeah, it'll be.
you're a
It's usually
machine.
every Wednesday night is bowling night. Come September,
Yeah, I feel like you have too much energy. Uh,
it's all the coffee and Red Bull throughout the day.
yeah, that's crazy. I mean, bowling is awesome though. Do you have your own ball?
I got 6 of them.
What? Why?
You got to play something different for each different oil pattern, man.
I mean, that's fair enough. I guess it's like I like to disc golf, and like you wouldn't go disc golfing with just one disc.
Right.
Uh, are they different weights too? Like, so you've got kind of a choice of depending on what you do, and we said, did you say oil?
Yeah. You know,
What?
oil the
No, I don't.
lanes.
I don't know. I'm an idiot.
Fair
I
enough.
don't know
Okay.
any of this.
A lot of alleys have an oiling machine, and you can type in different patterns, and the machine lays it out the way you have
What?
it. Yeah,
What's the point of that? Why wouldn't it all be universal?
it's a different shot, if that makes any sense. So like
It doesn't.
for me,
The goal is always to get all the pins down every time.
well, yes, in the end, yes. Um, so like for me, I like to swing it so I can stand a little to my left and hit up second arrow and watch it roll in from
Yeah,
the
and
outside.
curve over. Right.
Yeah. Or
Okay.
I'm really good at down and in, so I can move far right and play up second arrow and just watch it come in.
Do you do that with the same hand, or are you ambidextrous?
Right hand.
And so you can kind of curve either way with your right hand.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing. Do you traditionally like do you just use the 3 finger grip, and
Three
that's how you
fingers.
do it? Because I
Yeah.
have my friend Yunker. Back in high school, we would bowl for gym, and he would just hold the ball, and then he would just almost like a discus.
Yeah.
He would just toss it, and he would get the same result though, the exact same result every time,
Yeah.
which I thought
And
was wild.
I know, and lately it's weird. A lot of people are starting to use just the 2 fingers. They don't even use the thumb anymore. And I'm like, why?
Yeah, that's crazy. So, but why would you want to change the oil pattern? Like you just said, those 2 shots, and you're saying that they're going to be utilized based on the oil pattern uh, on the alley. But why would you change it? Why would you just stick with one? Because that's like it seems so pointless.
Um, Different bowling alley. Well, I've been to a lot of different bowling alleys, and each shot has been significantly different. So you learn how to adjust your angles and your feet.
But that's
On,
but it
on what
sounds
was
like you're
it?
saying that based on what the alley is doing, like just because every alley might be different. But you also
Right.
said that you can change it. There's a setting for you to change it.
Oh no, you'd have to change yourself.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah,
every alley has a different pattern. I like
yeah.
to say pattern
It's a
because
great
I'm
word.
6. But yeah, every bowling alley has a different pattern. So why do alleys do that? Like, how is that not like something that's regulated?
Oh, it's regulated, but they give you, I think, a total of 8 different patterns you can use. So
That's
every
really piss poor regulation.
well, yes and no, because once you learn how to adjust and get your
Yeah.
angles right for all the patterns, like it makes you better than what you were yesterday.
Well, I'd be curious then in a tournament setting, would they change that per game? Because like if you're really good at one pattern, then you're just going to clean up. But if it's like, all right, this game you're doing this pattern, this game we're going to change the pattern, so that kind of evens it out, or is that not a thing?
No, that's not a thing unless if it was like a 6 game tournament, they re-oil between the first and second set.
but it's still the same pattern. They just re-oil.
basically. But otherwise, changing wise, I think there was one time I went and practiced, and I had them set up 5 lanes, 5 different patterns, and I tried to figure it out with just one shot.
Yeah.
It's amazing how much oil can either hold your ball back from getting to the pocket or it can push it forward to get to the pocket.
Listen, I'm the dumbest man with the podcast. So like I had never even thought about oil in terms of bowling in my life.
It's okay.
It was specific. I can't even talk now because I'm so mad. Especially over like the last few episodes of the show, I've been like, when I'm editing them, I'm listening to them, I'm like, I sound like an absolute moron.
Nah. I mean, and honestly, it took me a lot of years to figure out that there are different oil patterns. So I can have a ball that can either, play down and in, like I said, far right and play right up the gutter or second arrow. And then, you can have balls that can kind of just curve in on a nice, smooth roll.
Yeah. I do actually, like I said, I like bowling a lot. I like a lot of games. I'm not good at anything, but like I love bowling. I love billiards. I love chess, but I'm kind of dog shit at all of them.
For me, it's all in good fun anymore.
Well, you're on a league, or is it just like a fun league?
Well, if the bowling team I'm on, if I showed you my bowling shirt, it would say the most professional drinking team that has a bowling problem. So there's that.
What's it like? How do you deal with kind of being in specific environments, like you just said, the team name and stuff, being in these specific environments that are very conducive to drinking? Like, do you just feel like you're in a place where like it's a non-thought because I'm so done with it and I have no interest in, I've lived that, I have no interest in going back there, so you feel kind of immune to it? Or is it sometimes it's a pain in the ass?
The two main things that really threw me through a loop is one of my good friends who I also bowl with, so this might tie in actually. He owns his own bar.
Yeah.
And I strongly enjoy going to his bar.
Right.
But like the first month and a half of being clean, I was just like, I can't do it. I might miss bowling, but I can't do it.
Yeah. Well, it's still so fresh then too. Like, you're still trying to figure out who you are without that, right?
Oh, fuck. Absolutely. Like it was nice maybe sleeping for more than 3 hours a fucking night, but at the same time, I could sleep for 3 to 6 hours if I was passed out. It was easy.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
And not wake up feeling like shit because I was immune to feeling like shit every time I drank. I don't know how, but nothing.
It's one of those things too. Like, it's so easy to not miss because once you've got some distance, the number one thing you remember is feeling like dog shit, right? Where you're like making a scene and that was fun and like getting rowdy was fun, but I remember how it felt after.
Yeah, and honestly, it's probably better this way because now, like, anytime I go to a show, I don't feel so stupid, and now I get to watch other people throw up outside the venue, and I'm just like, I was literally just in that same spot like last year.
Yeah, well, it helps you really not be judgmental.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it can happen to anybody, and it doesn't take much to kind of fall in, because you can be right at that border looking down, and it takes very little to fall in and not even realize it until it's too
absolutely.
late. Right? So it's good to not judge other people. Definitely offer help wherever you can. So I think you have a good support system around you now, where it's like, yeah, you're on the straight and narrow and you know what you want, and I've also got these people that are rallying behind me, which is amazing.
Yeah, and it's like I'll always say this, if anyone actually does have a fucking problem, just call. I've been there, done that.
Yeah, it's huge. It's you should definitely seek help anywhere you're comfortable. for anything you want to talk about. But personally am always like, it feels I can relate better to somebody that's walked the walk.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is crazy, but there's unfortunately there's a lot of people out there.
Oh, yeah, dude. Not wrong. Not wrong.
Yeah. Did you feel too like when you're kind of coming out of it, and like you said, you've got a good support system, and now you know what you don't want? Because I feel like there's a certain level of insecurity, depression, and just kind of self-loathing that plays into some of that. Have you come to a point where you feel that kind of lift, like maybe not disappear, but lift, where you're like, oh, there must be some value to me because I have a different outlook, and these people seem to genuinely care about me.
Yeah, it was actually a really, I mean, it was a heavy lift, but it was a lift.
Yeah, it's tough. Like when you've been beaten down for so long, and a lot of us suffer, and people don't even realize it, or we don't. Like you said, you're outgoing, and I'm sure that if we pulled certain threads, we could find that the reason you're outgoing is you did lose your dad young. You didn't want people to dig too deep into you, so you approached them first. Like I'm sure there's plenty of traumatic things in there that we could pull if we needed to, that were poor self-esteem and self-loathing based.
Oh
So
yeah.
it's heavy because you carry it for so long before you even realize or even think that it's in there. It's been festering for 20 years.
Yeah.
So I can understand the heavy, but you definitely felt something like come up.
Oh, absolutely. Like it was almost like seeing sunshine for the first time in years after being in a
Yeah,
fucking dungeon. You know what I mean?
right. Yeah, we've been holding yourself hostage essentially for
Yeah,
years, and you're
exactly.
finally like, all right, I gotta go. I'm done with this.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. What do you think? So we've got a pretty cool thing on the horizon, but what do you think is next for you in general, like overall? Like, what are you looking forward to? What have you got planned?
Finishing up the baseball season with the kids. Um, I'm actually taking my oldest to his first concert in the next few months.
Nice. What concert?
I'm actually taking him to go see Weezer.
Really?
It was actually Weezer was probably one of the first bands that he wanted to bond with me over.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
So I found out that they were coming to St. Paul, which is in Minnesota,
Wow,
and
that's a hell of a trek. Also,
2 hours. It's not bad.
is that true? Is it only 2 hours from where you are?
Maybe two and some change, but yeah, nothing
Still,
more.
that's not. I mean, are you in? In my head, you're like in the center bottom, like center south of Iowa.
Oh no, literally
That's
like
what I've made up.
fair enough. Just a little north, and I'm like literally right in the center.
Okay, all right, that makes sense. Because I say, yeah, I guess Minnesota is just right up there.
Yeah, I'm 45 minutes from the Minnesota border, which would be like Albert Lee and Northwood.
Nice. I would sneak up there just for a weekend of fishing because I love to fish.
Well, come up.
Yeah, that's really cool though. It's such a cool thing too. Like when something like that happens, where you can bond with something that you already love. Like, truth be told, I don't like Weezer, but I absolutely love that you and your son are bonding over it. That's so cool.
Oh yeah. Well, the original plan was I wanted to take him to go see the Gaslight Anthem because that's his favorite
Yeah,
band.
they're one of the best bands out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah,
he fucking loves them. And they're playing with Joyce Manor, and he's starting to love them too. And I'm like, you're my child. You're my child.
yeah. That's pretty awesome, actually. Yeah. Man, you can still go and see them. Like, I love Frank Turner so much, but you can't, like, it's so expensive to go see Frank Turner now, and it sucks.
Oh, I
But like
know.
the Gaslight Anthem, you can still go and see and enjoy it. Nice, like decent sized, smaller venue. Like it feels like it's the sound's good too. I don't know what your venues are like out there, but we got a lot of cool shit in Chicago.
Oh, absolutely. Because that's also where Alkaline Trio and the Lawrence Arms came from. So yes.
Yeah, well, they're all, man. Alkaline Trio's coming through. They're on. they're touring right now also, so they'll be coming through again.
Yeah, I think they got another. I think they got a second leg of the North American tour. I think coming in August or September, and they got Spanish love songs, who are also fucking awesome.
That's gonna be good. I know Bad Religion's about to go back out. They're finishing up with Social Distortion, and then they're going right back out again.
Yeah, I actually got to see the Religion Distortion show when they came through Des Moines a month ago.
What? Really?
Yeah. Well,
that's pretty awesome.
Social's been on the bucket list.
Yeah, there, man. I was just like, it's too much money, and it would be amazing. And I love Social D, and this is their last tour, but like, it's just not realistic, unfortunately. And I'm in a rough spot physically, so it's like,
right.
But how was the show?
Probably one of the better concerts I've probably seen in 3 years.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
I mean, fucking Mike sounded and looked as amazing like he never even had anything wrong.
Yeah, I've seen some videos and I'm like, dude, this guy looks like he's been healthy, like the healthiest he's been in like 30 years.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And then, Religion came on because they were the headliner that night. But I was just like, well, I've seen Religion, but that was also Warped Tour, so you only got like a 40-minute fucking set.
Yeah.
You actually didn't get to see Bad Religion.
Yeah, seeing them live is amazing too. Like they're really funny also, and you wouldn't expect it because they have like Greg Graffin has such a very dry sense of humor.
Yeah,
he does. And I love when he tells jokes on stage. Like last time I saw him, because they have to change mics halfway through because they use old school mics.
Yeah.
And he's like he wrestled with it, like he's fighting it on the stage and rolling around with it. And I'm like, this is a 50-year-old man that teaches science and has a doctoral degree, a PhD in biology, and he's fighting in his punk rock band against a microphone. I love
it. Fuck yeah. That's how it's done.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. So what is there anything else you want to talk about?
I mean, not unless you have any more questions.
I mean, I'm not really a questions guy.
I mean, fair.
I don't prepare for these things.
I mean, I don't think you're talking to somebody. I guess.
Yeah, well, some people would probably like. It's one of those things like if you're usually in interviews with somebody famous, so like you can do research and look up stuff. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm just talking to people that I know, and like, hoping that a conversation forms in the weird little things I want to know about their life.
I mean, I'm not so much anymore, but I used to be like a really big video game nerd.
Yeah, I noticed you don't really play games at all anymore.
I mean, I'm staying busy.
Yeah, no shit. Like when I think of how many games I play, it's embarrassing how many video games I play. I'm like, no wonder I'm not getting shit done.
Don't worry, that's how I felt too. I'd work like a 10 or a 12-hour day, and I'm just like, all right, I got an 18-pack, kids are fed, 6 hours of fucking Final Fantasy. Okay.
Yeah. Well, so I just picked up WWE 2K24 today.
Oh, nice.
It's the Ultimate Edition is on sale for a pretty good sale, but I've been buying them since 22, and I never thought I would because I've been a Fire Pro guy my whole life. Like Fire Pro is an incredible game. It has everything you would need, but the GM mode in the WWE games now is so good. It's all I play. Is just signing contracts, booking shows, and like I've put in hundreds of hours just booking shows and not even actually playing the game as a wrestling game. I just simulate everything. I'm like, I'm booking it. It's up to you guys to put on the show.
Right, absolutely.
I feel like such a garbage human being every time. But I do love it. Like while I'm doing it, I'm like, this is the best.
This is the best.
Because I play wrestling while I'm watching wrestling.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah, I used to do the exact same thing. Like when I actually had a laptop, I would have it to the side of me, and I'd either watch a Motor City Machine Guns match or I'd look up some 90s, All Japan or whatever, and I'd sit here and just focus on fucking SmackDown versus Raw 2011.
Yeah, that's awesome. Uh, well, I feel pretty good. We probably should have ended it on your sobriety and how positive that message was, not after alienating everybody talking about more wrestling, which I'm sure by now they're sick of. If they haven't already clicked off, like, do you have a friend group that like enjoys wrestling with you? Because I'm the like Jay moved to Colorado.
Yeah, bastard.
Uh, yeah, and so I'm like we text about wrestling, but like I have friends that'll watch it with me, but they're not wrestling fans. But they will at least let me talk about it and like they'll like genuinely listen to what I'm saying about it, even though they don't care or get it.
Right.
But every time I'm like, here, every pay per view, I'm like, here's what's gonna happen, and what it's what the show's gonna look like, and then that's what always happens because I've been doing this for my whole life and I know how the system works.
Yeah.
And they're like, why do you even watch this? Like, you know what's gonna happen. How is it fun for you at all? Like, do you have a good group that enjoys it with you, or are you the only asshole?
Um, for a while, I was the only asshole. Like, my ex-wife would watch a few things because she actually had like certain favorites,
Yeah,
which was cool. Like, hey, you're finally getting into it.
I feel like if somebody will give it a chance, it's real easy to get hooked.
Oh, absolutely. But
But like, you have to get over that initial like trying to get into it.
yeah, but with her, I was also strategic. I kind of went forwards and not backwards. Like, I started off hot with like Jericho and Edge and Orton.
Yeah,
Like, I
that's
started
smart.
hot
Yeah,
and then worked in, the hot mid cards like Cody and, Danhausen and the Guns.
yeah, man, I love Danhausen so much.
There was one year where I went 4 for 4 for pictures with him.
Really, that's awesome.
I think it was 3 different shows and the third Jericho cruise.
Yeah, I'm curious to see because I guess he's not in AEW anymore. I'm curious to see where he's gonna pop up again.
He was just over down here in Des Moines last weekend for Revolver.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I don't
and
know.
then,
That's what I'm wondering. I don't know if he'll just keep working like indie dates, or I don't know that anybody would pick him up. I think he's absolutely brilliant,
he's fucking
but I
awesome.
don't know. But I don't know how you translate it into like one of the bigger shows. I think that's like what's tough, at least long term, right?
Well, yeah, absolutely. But you can also, kind of thank the big bookers because they obviously seem to drop the ball with a lot of fucking people. I mean, look at Nemeth and Mustafa Ali right now.
Yeah, well, I actually think is okay because like I think Dolph Ziggler, who's Nemeth, is one of the most underrated workers out there. Like I never enjoyed Dolph Ziggler, and I left when he came in like through the Spirit Squad. That I was already gone. I didn't like that as a gimmick in the first place. I thought Dolph Ziggler was the worst gimmick ever, but he's such a solid, great worker.
Oh yeah,
Like there's just nothing bad to be said about him. So I'm glad that he's gone because certain people I think will do better outside the Fed, right? WWE.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And certain people will never work in the Fed. Like Eddie Kingston is the top guy. Like I love Eddie Kingston, and he means so much to me just as a person
Yeah.
and a wrestler. But I would never want to see him in WWE. I
Well,
would never put John Moxley back in WWE. Like,
oh god,
those guys do not belong in there. It's a whole different system. But like with what's going on with Ricky Starks might do pretty well in WWE if they can find a spot for him. And just the same, we just lost Dijak, and you talk about a dropped ball. This kid could have been a huge star. And they tried and failed, 4 times over the last 5 years?
Oh, fuck,
do anything with him, dude. When you go back and watch those Keith Lee matches with Dijak, you're like, dude, how are these guys not running the company? They're so good.
Right.
And like Keith Lee's nowhere to be seen and not being used whatsoever.
Anywhere. Yeah.
And Dijak, they just let his contract expire. What I'm hoping, especially with this TNA, not merger, but like talent exchange,
little crossover,
is that they literally were like, hey, we're gonna let your contract expire, but like we've heard it through the grapevine that like TNA is interested, so that he's just gonna sign over there. Because I think he'd be huge over there. I mean, he'd be huge anywhere.
Oh, absolutely.
But I don't think AEW has the room, whereas TNA is just starting to look up, and Dijak would be a huge guy to like really hitch your horse to over there.
Yeah, he would. He's always been like a dark horse for me.
Yeah.
Like ever since
Yeah.
his little ROH run before NXT, I mean, he was the fucking dark horse.
Yeah, we should have a wrestling podcast is what we should do, because like I said, if we continue to talk, if anybody's still here, they're definitely getting more pissed off by the second having to listen to us talk about wrestling, because I could do this all day.
Oh, fucking same, dude. Same.
Yeah, and I do love talking about wrestling, but I don't want to. I always tell myself when I started the show, I'm like, I'm not going to pander to what people want, because I'm not doing it to try to like get numbers or anything like that. I'm just kind of doing what I want and hope that people also enjoy that. But I am also understanding that nobody necessarily wants to hear us talk about wrestling. Like that's where I'm like, okay, I get it. I hear what you're saying. Fine. So we can, I suppose, wrap it up. Appreciate you finding the time in. Like, thank you so much. I'm so happy, like I said, that you're still here. I'm glad you fucking made it through the darkness.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
I know that's a weird thing to hear peer to peer, but I feel like we should normalize that. Like, I'm so fucking proud of you. Coming up on a year of sobriety, like you can just tell by talking to you, like you're just in a better headspace and a better. It's lighter, right? Like in general, like things are brighter. The load is lighter. Like everything just feels better. It's fucking great, man. What? Now I'm gonna put you on the spot. What are your parting words for us?
Shit. Well, after this, hopefully no problems for anyone else, and enjoy some good old punk rock and some professional wrestling.
Yeah, everybody out there should go and enjoy some punk rock and professional wrestling. That's
shows are the best.
Yeah, both shows are. Actually, I don't like going to indie shows. Yes, but I don't like going to the big shows anymore.
That's same.
Because there's so much dead space because it's built for TV.
Yeah.
And you don't get the commentary or anything. But yeah, indie shows. Go to start paying attention to independent wrestling and start listening to more punk rock.